It's not coming up on the screen. Okay, sorry about the delay. Okay, I'm going to start with a big confusion in the marketplace. And who is Nokia? And what happened to Alcatel-Lucent? So I think the one thing is Nokia is a service provider. GSM, very powerful in that space. A Finnish company. And we all know the famous little Nokia 3110. It received an award on this phone. This is still a live, running little device today. Could do text, could play Snake. There was no email or anything like that, but it was where we started with GSMs. And that's what really made Nokia quite famous today. But Nokia lacked in regards to optical and MPLS type routing. So it didn't have a product in that space. So what it did is it acquired Alcatel-Lucent, the carrier portion of Alcatel-Lucent, because Nokia was a carrier company, for just under $17 billion. So it wasn't a small purchase. And it's had a huge impact worldwide. Alcatel-Lucent being French. But Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise still exists. And that was the enterprise portion, looking after the Wi-Fi, the switches, the little routers, things like that, voice, etc. So they still exist as Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise. So it hasn't disappeared, it hasn't gone. But Alcatel-Lucent, as the carrier portion, has amalgamated into Nokia. Today, Alcatel-Lucent and Nokia work side by side. It used to be the same teams, they kind of split. Blueprints have been written about which products play in which role. So they still carry on working closely together. And I'm from Alcatel-Lucent, but we distribute the Nokia products. So we're the distributor for enterprises where Nokia deals directly in the carrier market. So just a little bit about how this all fits in and who's who. Alcatel-Lucent was started by acquiring Lucent Technologies. It used to be Alcatel, acquired Lucent. And Lucent was the old Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone. And that came with a lot of research, and what we have today is Bell Labs, the Bell Laboratories. There's a little bit of information about all the great inventions that has been made, such as the transistor for one. I mean, where would we be without that little transistor? We had solar cells. We all know about the solar cells today. Big change in the market. And if we didn't have those babies, we would be out of power in a lot of places. Satellite communications, Unix, all developed from, you could say, from Nokia itself. And along with that comes a lot of awards. So that little Oscar, little guy over here on the far right, was for this little telephone, believe it or not. The most beautiful phone ever created. So they say, and they got an Oscar for it. Got a lot of awards in regards from the US, in regards to innovation. You've got to keep in mind, Nokia is an innovation company. They develop technologies. They're a leader in development of technologies, and they're always leading in the space. Today, however, our discussion is going to be around the RENs, Sanren as such, and where and what role Nokia plays in these spaces. So the first part is the MPLS table. So we have a large portfolio in this space. It's IP routers from the very core backbone, data center equipment, right down to the aggregation edge, newly developed 7730. I'm going to mention the 7705 because I won't be mentioning it again. But the 7705 is a transition from legacy connections to MPLS. For instance, back in the day, Alcatel bought a company called Newbridge, 36 Mainstream. It was a leader in regards to TDM circuits. All your ESCOM power plants were connected with them. I don't know if you know, like a Diginet circuit. They were a TDM type of N times 64 connections, and that comes from that legacy type connectivity. And because we have a lot of, still today, running legacy solutions, we have the 7705, which provides that transition. So we've been in a lot of talks with Eskom, and obviously a lot of African countries as well. One thing that Nokia has been very powerful about is that it creates its own ASICs, builds its own chips, so it's not off the shelf. And these chips are all fully programmable. So we have the FastPath 4, FastPath 5, and the most recent introduction is the FP FastPath CX, which is based on a Unix platform. It's fully programmable. And you can restart or play with any type of application that's running through any service. You could restart ISSU, upgrade ISSU, make changes to ISSU on the fly. So it's pretty revolutionary, and a lot of people have been quite excited about the invention and also this coming to the marketplace. One of the nice things that Lucent is focused on is obviously security as well, built into the chip. So they've created what we call AnySec. Has anybody heard of AnySec? So you get MACsec, which secures the MAC layer 2 in the OSI model basically. And then you get IPsec, which is the IP layer 3 in the protocol stack. And AnySec is any security. It's encrypting any, whether it's the header, the transport layer, or any service that you're running, anytime. So it's encrypting it from end to end, part of the platform, embedded in there. And this is pretty new in the marketplace. I don't think anybody's delivering this. And if you check on if you Google it, AnySec has been developed by Nokia. So it's quite a revolutionary process. Besides that, what they do with the chipsets is they can 75% generation power decrease by using these chips with a 3.75 increase in performance. And you'll see that's a very important aspect of why the RENs have started using Nokia to provide their backbones and their networks today. So just to give you a bit of a history of how this all came together. The MPLS platform started with a startup company called Trimetra. Back in 2000, 2002, Alcatel purchased that, and it's the birth of the first FastPath chip that was developed by Nokia. Around about 2006, it acquired Lucent Technologies, and that's when we brought out the FastPath 2, 100 gigs. From about 2013, you had the IP core routing, virtual routing, sorry, I forgot to mention that as well. We also got the virtual router in the base. We created the first SD-WAN based on Nuage, and then the carrier SDN. Around about 2016, Nokia acquired this portion of the platform, or this portion of the technology, and invested heavily in security. So we have deep field intelligence, analytics, DDoS, attacks. These are all wire rate. There's no degradation in performance. Even with AnySec, when you're encrypting from end to end, you have no performance degradation because it's part of the chip. And then recently, the FPCX. For your information, the FPCX was launched in 2023, but none of them are in South Africa at the moment. I haven't touched one yet, but hopefully next year I will. So now let's look at the platform and understand what's been involved at Sanren for many years. So this specific range, the SAS product, has been with Sanren for about 15 to 18 years. We have about 300 nodes, and it's been focused on this specific range. We have some today that are still running in the network, the SAS MXPs, for instance. Most of the time, this was a fiber switch. It was providing mainly gigabit access and about 410 gigs. And that has been running the network for many years, for like I say, about 18 years. But there's been a big demand in performance of late. So Tenet, Sanren, the world is asking for more and more power, more and more speed. Obviously, we have a bigger chassis in that space, but if you want to, and what we've been looking at, is to start looking at a device with a couple of additional 10 gigs. So we've looked at one of these devices here, the 7250 IXR. It's new to the Nokia portfolio, so it's only about 2-3 years old. It's coming with 16 gigs now instead of 4, with 24 fibers. You've got an upgrade to about 14 with about 4 copper gigs. And then obviously you can go as far as 200 gigs, 825 gigs, and 24 10 gigs. This is the starting range, and obviously from there it extends. It all depends on the performance, but what's nice about the product, it's got all the nice services and features of MPLS available, all the traffic engineering, pseudo wire, VPLS capabilities, etc., all built in. You get that part of the package. And then it's scalable. You can scale with this family right up to, you can see up to 288 gigs if you require. The 7730, the new product, the product I haven't touched yet, but here it is. As mentioned, fully programmable chips based on a Unix platform. This is delivering up to 400 gigs. It's just the guys from engineering can't wait to see this in operation, but it's edge, aggregation, and access. So the core products is really the 7750 SR. 7750 SR brought out the 800 gig chip, and this has been used in quite a few Sanrens today, or at least the GANT, sorry. It's also a scalable range from a 1-slot or 2U device right up to a really big core box. Depends on how many ports you require, the speed you're looking for, etc., etc. The data center portfolio is also pretty new, about 4 years old now. It's also the 7250 IXR along with the 7220. It's purpose-built for data centers, and it's done extremely well in the marketplace. In fact, this whole portfolio creation was inspired by Apple. Apple came to Nokia and said, look, we're really looking for a powerful data center product, something that's fully reliable, lossless Ethernet, and they wanted something to be built in this design in regards to a spine leaf technology. And this is where we created this. From there, it's now used by Microsoft. Microsoft is standardized on the Nokia data center technology, tried and tested. So they've gone for something that really works. They've got powerful labs. We're busy with trials with Google. And we're also in trials with, I think it's Enscape, which is Lenovo. They're pushing Lenovo technology in regards to building a data center for artificial intelligence. One thing about Nokia's technology that's been with us for a long time is it's got 3 things that's very powerful. It's highly available, so it's very reliable. Anybody who's used the technology finds it's bulletproof. Doesn't break, and it does what you ask it to do. It's very secure. It's offering a lot more security than most other products do, and it's delivering, like I say, AnySec today. And lastly, it's got the most powerful management platform, which is the NSP. The NSP is a network services platform, and it's basically carrier SDN for networks. Okay, it's talking to multi-vendors, multi-layer, multi-tenant, multi-vendor, physical and virtual network. It's a very, very powerful tool, and a lot of service providers who use it today. So you can create a provision, a network across multiple vendors. For instance, it could be partly Juniper, partly Cisco, partly Huawei, and we can end-to-end manage that through the NSP. What's also nice about the NSP, it's not just about this range of products. Remember, I've just been discussing the IP MPLS stuff, but we're also very strong in optics. So DWDM, GPON, I don't know if you know GPON, but DWM is also, and GPON is managed through the NSP. So it's a multi-layered product as well, so end-to-end. So in conclusion, Nokia has been very focused in RAN, network solutions. From the innovation centers to basically what you guys provide, the schools, the governments, the institutes, high-performance computing sites, providing the data center networking technology, data center solutions, and then the passive optical networking. Passive optical networking is a very robust solution that's provided today, even in South Africa, to provide households what they call fiber to the home, fiber to the user, fiber to the business, etc. And all this managed through the NSP, this being your WDM backbone. And this is basically a blueprint for the RANs that Nokia is focused on and positioning worldwide today. This is just a little bit on DWDM, high-speed, secure, quantum-safe optical transport. What's interesting about optical networks today is they're getting a lot of artificial intelligence built into them. So when the fiber is laid, you can understand if, for instance, if there's any movements in the earth, whether it's a gun going off, or there's actually a fire in the area, or a truck is doing something, it will detect this and actually provide information back to the management center, or even give off an alarm, so that you can actually know that something's going on close to where your fiber is. Besides that, you could use it for security purposes if you hear a noise or anything that's not allowed. So this is how artificial intelligence is starting to be built in to the technology to provide more than just switching of traffic across a wide area. What's also interesting is this can be delivered over 2,000 kilometers, which is quite a reach. And we've been building this for the RANs. So here's a good example, and it's been mentioned a few times, is the GANT. So recently, GANT moved over to Nokia technology for the next 10 years as an evolution. There's a bit of a video that runs, set by Bram Peters, the CTO. So it's really a great success for us. GANT is a network that's covering Europe. So if you're in the keynote speech today, you would have heard a little bit about GANT. And this is covering 10,000 institutions or sites, 10,000, and 50 million users on this network today. So it's quite an horrendous setup. GANT is now connecting to other like countries. For instance, you would have a little SAN-RAN or a RAN going in England. You'd have one in the Nordics, and it's connecting all these different RANs together. We've also got a similar setup in the... One thing I didn't mention, but I mentioned it earlier, is one of the reasons they chose... They chose the product is because of the 75% reduction of power needed. And also being a European vendor, that was also a plus. Then the American, we provide a educational network right across America. As you can see, that's quite a reach. America's like 5 different time zones. Similar setup here, we went with 400 gig. The GANT was looking at 800 gigs. So it's pretty powerful. These are reference videos, so if anybody gets these slides or wants to look at it, or even click on the press release, you can see more about what actually transpired here. And then lastly, is the reference with Microsoft adopting the data center technology from Nokia. So Nokia has been working closely with Microsoft to understand the evolving data center needs and requirements. our expertise in building high-performance chassis-based systems was a key factor in our selection. The platform works, and it's working for good reference sites. Good customers, big customers have chosen the technology. So why reinvent the wheel, as many people say, when somebody has been out there and done all the tests? So that's me in summary. I think the main thing I wanted to let you know is really where Nokia fits in, to try and let you understand the difference of Nokia. Nokia, a carrier company, purchasing a big portion of a carrier company that was more on the wire side, and Nokia more on the GSM side, coming together to create this huge animal. Alcatel-Lucent still exists, but now purely on the enterprise side, and now distributing Nokia on the enterprise market. So Nokia will continue to front-face companies like Vodacom, MTN, Telkom, etc., and Alcatel-Lucent will front-face companies like Senren, City of Cape Town, City of Tshwane, Comsol Wireless, where we've deployed this type of technology. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you very much for that intensive presentation, Craig. Do we have any question? Okay, one there.
Hi. How often do you need repeaters on these high speeds? What distances?
I'd be lying if I told you, but I think it's close to 180 kilometers.
Do they have a built-in OTDR function to
Yes,
detect
programmable.